I'm Lori Duchek, an Information Officer with the Regional Emergency Operations Center. I'm joined today by Incident Commander Daniel Klein, and today it is Tuesday, July 25th for our daily operational update. So yesterday, Daniel, we were talking about kind of watching the weather and looking at things as that cold front came in. Maybe we can just do a quick recap here on the St. Mary's River fire with how we fared in the last 24 hours.
Yeah, you bet. So last 24 hours, I'm sure everyone felt the winds that came in last night, and they were sustained through the overnight period. I think really happy to report that the fire held on all our containment lines last night, and that's a really positive development. We were, it was a kind of 24 hours that we were really concerned about in terms of spotting, in terms of making sure that we were on top of anything that might get out with those increased winds, and I think with the crews overnight being there, it was really great to hear reports this morning that we didn't have any further growth, we didn't have spotting on the fire, and things remain holding on all of our machine guards and existing roads on the north flank, down all the way down the east flank, south flank, west flank. So no growth in the last 24 hours, and it's a really positive development.
That's awesome. So good to hear. Now, I know that we've been having the map and we've been talking about where things may change, and we've had some stability in the map for the last couple of days, but we do have a couple of changes today that we wanted to bring to your attention, and maybe we'll start just with this little area here. If you can explain to me, I know there has been a bit of a change just in this little piece here.
Yeah, sure. Just for orientation, this is the prescribed burn that BCWS in collaboration with ACOM, the City of Cranbrook, completed this spring. So here's the Canadian Rockies International Airport for reference. So what's happening is the fire is currently, burning low intensity into that prescribed burn. And that's to be expected. We don't expect prescribed fires to prevent the growth of fire into them. What we do expect is that they prevent high intensity fire. So we were expecting low intensity fire, but because we did the burn this spring, we got rid of a lot of the surface fuel. And because we got a lot of that surface fuel removed, the fire doesn't really have the opportunity to gain an intensity and start crown fires or start candling. So that's really the goal of prescribed fire. It's not going to be, fire's not going to come up to it and stop. But fire is going to come up to it and it's going to reduce in intensity. And we're not going to be worried about crown fires, and we're not going to be worried about spotting. And that's really important to know that. And it also makes a defensible space for ground crews, because as the intensity decreases and it moves into the prescribed burn, it's safe for crews to get in there. It also allows us to prioritize areas that we were really concerned about. So we were able with confidence to say, it's okay if we have a bit of fire in here right now, because our focus is on containment up here. And now that we have these lines holding, we can reprioritize and look at how to really contain this section of line. So fire is burning through here gently, and we're coming up with plans to reopen some of these roads in the burn, make sure we have equipment in there. And then people should expect that we're going to do some small scale planned ignitions in here to bring it out to those roadways and make sure that we're really contained and that there's no longer any smoke or no chance of kind of this continuing to just be something that needs to be resourced and crews are on. So people should expect that there will be some small scale planned ignitions here in the coming days when weather's favorable, when we have the crews in place, that will occur.
Super. Yeah. So if people see smoke sort of coming from this area of the fire, that's a really good explanation for why they're seeing what they see. And obviously when you're looking at what the fire did, you can really see here the job that the prescribed burn did in those early days of the fire when the fire behavior was so aggressive. So that's great to hear that you're on that now. I know that there was another section of the fire on this side that previously had been quite active. I'm just wondering if you have any updates on anything on this side of the fire.
Yeah, great. It's great to bring people's attention. So all these lines have held where they are for now, but this is the, if folks can remember, there was a wildfire here in 2017. You can faintly see the outline of that burn, and the map also speaks to it. The map speaks to how well the prescribed burn has prevented growth this way. this old fire in 2017 also speaks to how the reduction of those fuels from that fire has really prevented this year's wildfire and the current wildfire from getting in there aggressively. But we still have fire on the ground, low intensity fire on the ground, and we still need to think about how we contain this. So we've been prioritizing other areas, and now we need to pay attention to how we're going to contain this little pocket of unburnt fuel. So again, the plan with this is to do some really small scale hand ignitions with crews, just burning out the grass that is in here and burning it out to a really solid roadway where we know that there's going to be no more fuel to burn. That's how we've been winning on this fire, is through ignitions and through small scale planned ignitions out to roadways, out to really good containment lines, and being 100% sure that there's no more fuel to burn on this fire. So even though the fire looks really good out there today, there's not a lot of smoke in the air. Public can expect that there will be some more smoke that occurs over the next couple days when we feel like it's favorable to be burning, to remove fuel in here, grass, surface litter, and same within the prescribed burn, bringing it out to really solid containment lines so that we can make sure that we feel confident that there's going to be no further growth.
Super. So while we're not out of the woods yet on this fire, it does sound like there have been a number of winds, particularly
Yes.
in the last 24 hours
Yeah.
when we did have this dicey weather system moving in. So I did have one more question. It's one that I know that's been on the minds for a lot of people,
Yeah.
and that is there's just a small spot that showed up on the perimeter map on the bcwildfire.ca website, and it's located just over here in this area. And I'm just wondering if you might be able to speak to what we're seeing here and why that's there.
Totally. Really good point, and happy to address it. So you can see all these black lines are equipment guards that we pushed. This was a contingency line that we had constructed as a backup just in case this one didn't hold, and we had to hold it on here. This is actually a spark from heavy equipment operations. So just from the tracks sparking, and those sparks can, just like ember transport, start fires. That is something that we are very vigilant about. We understand those risks, and we understand that equipment has the potential to start wildfires, right, or start spot fires. So what we do is we make sure that that equipment is pushed in the early morning periods or overnight when relative humidities are high and temperatures are low, so that the risk of that is lessened. We also attach usually skidders with a tank, a water tank, behind the equipment that's working to be a spot check and make sure that if something happens, they have the ability to respond with water right behind where the equipment's working. Oftentimes we'll also put an IA crew with an engine that has some water capacity, making sure that they are a lookout essentially for the heavy equipment and that we don't run the risk of this happening. But it does happen sometimes. We can't avoid it 100% of the time, and we do our best to just make sure we have the systems in place that if there is a spot, we can respond to it with water really quickly. We have eyes on it really quickly, and that's what this was. It was a spot fire from equipment. Crews were able to respond to it. The equipment operator was able to respond to it really quickly and get a machine guard around that spot. So there is a machine guard around this spot. We have had crews out here. It's quite small. We are not concerned about it. There's no more smoke. It looks cold to us. And so we are not concerned about any growth there, but that's the explanation for why that spot is there.
Super, thank you for the explanation,
Yeah.
and also a really good example of just how tinder dry the conditions are,
Yeah.
where something that small can lead to something, which is a really good reminder for all of us about the need for us to have personal vigilance and to be really careful out there. So I really appreciate that. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention today on the fire front and maybe the priorities heading into the next operational period?
Yeah, no, we continue to be well staffed here. It has been really great to see that we held through that wind event last night. It's going to continue to be windy, and we're going to continue to be vigilant. But I think that was a really good test of our containment yesterday, that we didn't get something from those high winds. And I want to be cautious that we're not saying that the fire's contained. We're not changing the status of the fire. It's still considered out of control. until we work it some more, make sure that the edges we're really comfortable with it, and that these pockets of fuel are burnt out, at the prescribed burn and the 2017 burn, we're really good to containment lines, and then we can start using the language that, changing the status of the fire or feeling like it's contained.
Super. Well, it does feel after the last 24 hours we're moving in the right direction, but
Yeah.
certainly we do still need to remain vigilant, and there have been no changes to the evacuation alerts or orders in the past 24 hours. So if you need information on those, you can contact us at rdek.bc.ca. Our info line is open as well at 250-426-2188. And of course, for the latest information on the fire outside of these awesome updates from Daniel Klein, you can always check the Wildfire Note page at bcwildfire.ca. So thank you again for your time today.
Yeah, you bet.